That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even dead may die.
Welcome, everybody, to the Unnamed Horror. I'm Hannu the Handemäkinen, and I'm joined by Retrokaiser.
Yo!
Yes, and this is the Unnamed Horror, our H.P. Lovecraft podcast, where I read an H.P. Lovecraft story, and Retrokaiser makes sound effects and observations, and then also fact-check stuff when we don't know what something is.
And other annoying sounds.
Yes, and other annoying sounds, yeah. And this is part 3 of the Call of Cthulhu. And if you are joining us in part 3 and you have not listened to part 1 and 2, what the hell are you doing? Go back and listen to parts 1 and 2.
Specialism.
Yep.
Especially part 2, you get some of that voodoo orgies. Whoa!
Yeah. So yes, this is the third and final part of the Call of Cthulhu. We are finally finishing up the story. So please go back and listen to the chapter 1, which was the horror in clay, and chapter 2, part 2, which was the tale of Inspector Legrasse. And today we will finally finish up the Call of Cthulhu with part 3, the Madness from the Sea. And I have my Lovecraft notes again. Today I'm going to be talking about the general reception of this story and what Lovecraft actually himself thought of it at the time of the writing. But yes, without further ado, let's get on with the story, The Call of Cthulhu, Part 3, The Madness.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, The Madness from the Sea.
Splash.
If heaven ever wishes to grant me a boon, it will be a total effacing of the results of mere chance which fixed my eye on a certain stray piece of shelf paper. It was nothing on which I would naturally have stumbled in the course of my daily round, for it was an old number of an Australian journal, the Sydney...
G'day.
The Sydney Bulletin from April 18th, 1925. It had escaped even the Cutting Bureau, which had, at the time of its issuance, been avidly collecting material for my uncle's research.
What did the newspaper do to get arrested in the first place?
Arrested? What?
Because it escaped.
Oh boy, that was a weak one.
Yeah.
All
Moving
right.
on.
I know. Hey, I'm gonna have to tell the Cutting Bureau to leave that one out. Hey. I am the Cutting
That
Bureau.
joke wasn't much better than mine.
I had largely given over my inquiries into what Professor Angel called the Cthulhu cult, and was visiting a learned friend in Paterson, New Jersey.
Hey!
That's what New Jersey gets, is to the hey.
Yeah, I made him sound
It's
like
the Fonz.
Yeah.
The curator of a local museum and a mineralogist. That's a difficult word.
Hello.
Word. Sorry. Mineralogist of note. Examining one day to oh God. Yeah, sorry, I'm complete shit today as well. Examining one day the reserve specimens. Reserve specimens? Yes, that's what that says.
Specimens.
Roughly set on the storage shelves in a rear room of the museum. My eye was caught by an odd picture in one of the old papers spread beneath the stones. It was... Why a boing sound there?
That's the eyeballs poking out.
Oh, okay, good sound effect then. Okay, it was the Sydney Bulletin I have mentioned, for my friend has wide affiliations in all conceivable foreign parts, and the picture was a half-tone cut of a hideous stone image, almost identical with that which Legrasse had found in the swamp. Eagerly...
It was the wife.
Eagerly clearing the sheet of its precious contents, I scanned the item in detail and was disappointed to find it of only moderate length. What it suggested, however, was of portentous significance to my flagging quest, and I carefully tore it out of immediate
Oh!
Why, ow?
Sorry, that's the first thing that came to mind with immediately tore.
No, he's tearing paper in this case, so it's kind of a sound would have been nice there.
Even like this?
Did you mute
not
your
pick up?
mic? It just got... Yeah, okay, there we go. Because it definitely sounded like you were ripping something, but then it suddenly got very
My
quiet.
pants.
Yeah. I carefully tore the immediate action. It reads as follows. Mystery derelict found at sea. I wish I could do an Australian accent.
Mystery derelict found at sea.
Aye, crikey, mystery derelict found at sea. Vigilant arrives with helpless armed New Zealand yacht in tow. Those sheepshaggers, one survivor and dead man found aboard. Tale of desperate battle and death at sea. I sound like that guy. I'll stop doing that accent.
You sound like a British person.
Aye.
Sound like Sid Vicious.
That Sex Pistols, right?
Yeah, a Sex Pistol.
Okay,
yeah.
yes. I had to plumb the depths of my mind to remember who the hell that guy is. Okay, sorry. Rescued. Okay, sorry, I don't know what that voice was. Rescued seaman refuses. Particulars of a strange experience. No, I'm definitely doing some kind of cockney. I tore my larynx back in 25. Odd idol found in his possession. Inquiry to follow. Sorry, I don't know what the hell happened there.
I'm like a point-and-click adventure game character now.
Oh yeah, that's... Okay, now I know what that voice was. That was one of the pirate leaders when I did Secret of Monkey Island. Okay, yeah. He's the one who asked, do you have any special skills? I can hold my breath for 10 minutes. All right. The Morrison's Company's freighter, Vigilant, bound from Valparaiso. Valparaiso, is that a place in New Zealand?
Valparaiso? How do you spell it? Time for the Dr. Google.
Valparaiso.
It's a city in Chile.
It's Chile. Okay, yeah, it was so it was going across the Atlantic. Okay, not the Atlantic, sorry, Pacific. Yeah. Ooh, that was a bad one, and I'm a geography teacher. Arrived this morning at its wharf in Darling Harbour, having in tow the battled and disabled but heavily armed steam yacht Alert of Dunedin, New Zealand, which was sighted April 12th at south latitude 35 degrees 21 minutes, west longitude 152 degrees 17 minutes.
Wow, specific details.
Yes. With one living and one dead man aboard. The Vigilant.
Which one's the living one? Which one's dead? You decide.
The Vigilant left Valparaiso March 25th, and on April 2nd was driven considerably south of her course by exceptionally heavy storms and monster waves.
Raw splash.
Good splash. On April 12th, the derelict was sighted and thought apparently deserted.
Oh, look at that derelict.
Was found upon boarding to contain one survivor in a half-delirious condition and one man who had evidently been dead for more than a week. I was immediately starting to think about if there was a connection between this and Dagon, but then I remembered, oh no, the guy escaped alone on the boat. The living man was clutching a horrible stone idol of unknown origin, about a foot in height, regarding whose nature authorities at Sydney University, the Royal Society, and the Museum in College Street all profess complete bafflement, and which the survivor says he found in the cabin of the yacht, in a small carved shrine of common pattern. What is a common pattern for a shrine? that's a
Candles, I guess.
Yeah,
Candles,
but
a podium.
Well, okay, I guess. Well, that's not really a pattern. That's more like a
No, it's not.
whatever. We'll move on. Let's move on. This man, after recovering his senses, told an exceedingly strange story of piracy and slaughter.
Yarg.
Yes, that was what I was hoping for. He is Gustav Johansen, a Norwegian of some intelligence. Well, that doesn't say much for Norwegian.
Howard.
Hey, so, okay, that was a mean one.
I was going to say, that's Howard leaking out his racism again.
And had been second mate of the two master
Oh,
schooner.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I heard that as he's been sick.
Yeah, and also I read that incorrectly. And had been second mate. No article there. Sorry, second mate of the two-masted schooner Emma of Auckland.
Ooh.
Yes, which sailed for Callao, February 20th, with the complement of 11 men. The Emma, he says, was delayed and thrown widely south of her course.
Whoa!
By the great storm of March 1st. And on March 22nd, in south latitude 49 degrees 51 minutes, west longitude 128 degrees 34 minutes, encountered the Alert, manned by a queer and evil-looking crew of Kanakas,
Oh, wow.
and half-castes. There's the queer again.
Moving on.
Yes, but that is still. Yes, we were having a queer old time. No, sorry, gay old time on chapter 2 as well. But no, actually, yes, it was more in part 1. We were talking about the sculptor, who was also hypersensitive and queer, being ordered peremptorily. That is a hard word. I've never seen that. Okay, time for Dr. Google again.
Yep.
Peremptorily.
I've got peremptory.
Peremptorily.
Here we go. The meaning is, drumroll, in a way that expects to be obeyed immediately and without any questions.
Okay, yeah. Kind of like imperatively, I suppose. Okay.
Or demanding.
Yeah, that's what imperative means. It's you know what an imperative clause is. It's a command clause, ends with an exclamation mark.
Ho ho ho.
Yes. Sorry, I'm also an English teacher. Okay. Being ordered peremptorily to turn back, Captain Collins refused. Whereupon the strange crew began to fire savagely and without warning upon the schooner, with a peculiarly heavy battery of brass cannon forming part of the yacht's equipment.
Boom.
So they were real pirates, yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Of queer and half-castes.
Sounds like one of my pirate party streams.
From down under, yeah. Okay, cheap jokes. Let's move on. The MS men...
Cannonballs.
The MS men shoot fight, says the survivor. What, no shoes this time?
The shoe?
Yeah, shoot fight, yeah.
I misheard that as shoot fight, like as in mixed martial arts.
No, it's that shoe again, the past form of show, so...
Shoe, or I'll fight you.
Yeah, that's a running gag on this podcast. And thought the schooner...
Shoes and running,
Yeah, and thought the schooner began to sink from shots beneath the waterline. They managed to heave alongside their enemy and board her, grappling with the savage crew of the yacht's deck. On the yacht's deck, and being forced to kill them all, the number being slightly superior because of their peculiarly abhorrent and desperate, though rather clumsy mode of fighting.
Whoa.
Yeah. This turned into a bit of a swashbuckling tale, didn't it? Okay.
Now we know what the P stands for in H.P. Lovecraft. Pirate.
Howard Pirate Lovecraft. Okay. 3 of the Emma's men, including Captain Collins and First Mate Green, were killed. And the remaining 8 under Second Mate Johansen proceeded to navigate the captured yacht, going ahead of their original direction to see if any reason for their ordering back had existed. The next day, it appears, they raised and landed on a small island, although none is known to exist in that part of the ocean. And 6 of the men... and 6 of the men somehow died ashore, though Johansen is queerly reticent about this part of the story. and speaks only of their falling into a rock chasm.
Ouch!
Yes.
These damn rocks in this chasm.
Yes, later it seems he and one companion boarded the yacht and tried to manage her, but were beaten about by the storm on April 2nd.
Slap, slap, whack, whack.
Yes, from that time till his rescue on the 12th, the man remembers little, and he does not even recall when William Bryden, his companion, died. Bryden's death reveals no apparent cause and was probably due to excitement or exposure. Cable advisors from Dunedin report that Alert was well known there as an island trader and bore an evil reputation along the waterfront. It was Yes, it was owned by a curious group of half-castes who frequent meetings and night trips to the woods attracted no little curiosity. It's a funny way to say it. And it had set sail in great haste just after the storm and earth tremors on March 1st. Our Auckland correspondent gives the Emma and her crew an excellent reputation, and Johansen is described as a sober and worthy man. The Admiralty will institute an inquiry on the whole matter beginning tomorrow, at which every effort will be made to induce Johansen to speak more freely than he has done hitherto. This was all together with the picture of the hellish image, but what a train of ideas it started in my mind. Here were new treasuries of data on the Cthulhu cult, and evidence that it had strange interests at sea as well as on land. What motive prompted the hybrid crew to order back to the Emma as they sailed about with their hideous idol? What was the unknown island on which 6 of the Emma's crew had died, and about which the mate Johansen was so secretive? What had the Vice Admiralty's investigation brought out, and what was known of the noxious cult in Dunedin?
Find out next week on the same bat time on the same bat channel.
No, we will do it now. And most marvelous of all, what deep and more than natural linkage of dates was this, which gave a malign and now undeniable significance to the various turn of events, so carefully noted by my uncle. March 1st, our February 28th, according to the international dateline, the earthquake and storm had come. From Dunedin.
Ooh.
From Dunedin, the Alert and her noisome crew had darted eagerly forth, as if imperilously summoned, and on the other side of the earth poets, wow, and artists had begun to dream of a strange, dank, cyclopean city. Whilst a young sculptor had molded in his sleep the form of the dreaded Cthulhu. March 23rd, the crew of the Emma landed on an unknown island and left 6 dead. And on that date, the dreams of the sensitive men assumed a heightened vividness and darkened with dread of a giant monster's malign pursuit, whilst an architect had gone mad, and a sculptor had lapsed suddenly into delirium. And what of this storm on April 2nd, the date on which all dreams of the dank city ceased? I love that they just keep saying dank city now. And Will Cox emerged unharmed from the bondage of the strange fever? What of all this, and of those hints of old Castro about the sunken starborn old ones and their coming reign, their faithful cult and their mastery of dreams? Was I tottering on the brink of cosmic horrors beyond man's power to bear?
Yes.
If so, they must be horrors of the mind alone, for in some way the 2nd of April had put a stop to whatever monstrous menace had begun its siege on mankind's soul. That evening, after a day of hurried cabling and arranging, I bade my host adieu and took a train for San Francisco. In less than a month, Okay. Was that a train?
Sorry, I did a plane there.
Yes, even though I said train.
Oh, it could be a flying train.
Oh, come on. Let's do a choo-choo then.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
There we go.
Woo!
Yes. In less than a month, I was in Dunedin, where, however, I found that little was known of the strange cult members who had lingered in the old sea taverns. Yes, waterfront scum was far too common for special mention, though there was vague talk about one inland trip these mongrels had made, during which faint drumming and red flame were noted on the distant hills. In Auckland, I learned that Johansen had returned with yellow hair turned white after a perfunctory and inconclusive questioning at Sydney, and had thereafter sold his cottage in West Street, and sailed with his wife to his old home in Oslo. Of his stirring experience, he would tell his friends no more than he had told the Admiralty officials, and all they could do was to give me his Oslo address. After that, I went to Sydney and talked profitlessly with seamen and members of the Vice Admiralty Court. I love seamen. Such a fun word to say.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the alert, now sold and in commercial use, at Circular Quay in Sydney Cove, but gained nothing from its non-committal bulk. Non-committal bulk, okay? The crouching image, with its cuttlefish head, dragon body, scaly wings, and hieroglyphed pedestal, was presented in the museum at Hyde Park, and I studied it long and well, finding it a thing of balefully exquisite workmanship, with the same utter mystery, terrible antiquity, and unearthly strangeness of material which I had noted in Legras's smaller specimen. Geology. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I struggle with these absolutely not so complicated words at all. Okay.
He's also an English teacher, in case you didn't hear him saying that before.
Yeah. Geologists, the curator told me, had found it a monstrous puzzle, for they vowed that the world held no rock like it. Then I thought, with a shudder, of what old Castro had told Legras about the primal great ones. They had come from the stars, and had brought their images with them. So it's a space rock, that is what they're saying. Oh, you know what? They didn't have a word for space back then. Did I tell you that?
Interesting.
Yeah, do you know what they call the space outside the Earth back in Lovecraft's time?
Cosmos.
Well, yeah, they called it that as well, but the scientific term back then was actually ether. They said, when people say that they come from the ether, that's what they meant, that was the kind of the old name for space.
Yeah. I always thought ether was some sort of alcoholic beverage used to knock out people.
It's that, and it's also a gas. I used it. This is not a joke. I've actually used it to knock out flies when I did my geology, not geology, genetics. When I did my genetics lab course. But let's move on. I lost my place. God damn it. No, here it is. Okay. Shaken with such mental revolution as I had never before known, I now resolved to visit Mate Johansen in Oslo. Sailing for London, I re-embarked at once for the Norwegian capital. And also, I need to stop here because re-embarked is spelled really, really weirdly here. Well, first of all, there's no... well, I guess it's both are technically correct, but this one doesn't have a dash. So it's re-embarked, one word. But the second E in re-embarked has umlauts over it, which I don't think is normal. At least I've never seen it spelled like that. So a little fun.
Re-embarked.
Yeah, I don't know why Lovecraft did that, but that's kind of neat, actually. Yeah. Okay, and one autumn day landed at the trim wharves in the shadow of Egeberg, or I guess Egeberg is how you say that in Norwegian. Okay, Johansen's address, I discovered, lay in the old town of King Harold Hardara. Wait a minute, is that Norwegian? Hardrada. I think that's how you say that in Norwegian. Which kept alive the name of Oslo during all the centuries that the greater city masqueraded as Christiana. I made the brief trip by taxicab and knocked the
Taxi!
Yes, with palpitant heart at the door of a neat and ancient building with plaster front. You know what? I just keep hearing Larry's voice because I've been working on a Laser to Larry video, and this isn't the first game he goes taxi all the time. Yeah, a sad-faced woman in black answered my summons, and I was strung with disappointment when she told me in halting English that Gustav Johansen was no more.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you. I was hoping for that because I need to take a sip of water. He had not.
Oh, so from the sounds of it, he accidentally walked in on his funeral.
Yeah, or his wife is grieving him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He had not survived his return, said his wife, for the doings at sea in 1925 had broken him. He had told her no more than he had told the public, but had left a long manuscript of technical matters, as he said, written in English, evidently in order to safeguard her.
How convenient.
Safeguard her from the perils of casual perusal. During a walk through a narrow lane near the Gothenburg dock, a bundle of papers falling from an attic window had knocked him down.
Plunk!
2 Lascar sailors. Lascar? Huh. Okay, maybe let's do Google again.
Lascar Electronics? No, Alaska, that's the first thing that popped up in the shop. Alaska was a sailor or militiaman from the Indian subcontinent of Southeast Asia.
Whoa. Okay, interesting. So they're Indians, like from India. Okay, cool. Interesting. Okay. All right, moving on. 2 Lascar sailors at once helped him to his feet, but before the ambulance could reach him, he was dead. Physicians found no adequate cause for the end and laid it to heart trouble and a weakened constitution. I now felt knowing at my vitals that dark terror which will never leave me till I too am at rest, accidentally or otherwise. Accidentally has quotation marks around it, so all right.
Accidentally?
Accidentally or otherwise, persuading the widow that my connection, and again connection with an X, with her husband's technical matters, which also have the quotation marks around them, was sufficient to entitle me to his manuscript. I bore the document away and began to read it on the London boat. It was a simple, rambling thing, a naive sailor's effort at a post facto diary, and strove to recall day by day that last awful voyage. I cannot attempt to transcribe it verbatim in all its cloudiness and redundance, but I will tell its gist, enough to shew my why.
Shoo.
Yes, enough to shew my why the sound of the water against the vessel's sides became.
Go away, water, you nasty wet thing.
Don't ever say nasty wet thing again. That sounded. Why the sound of the water against the vessel's sides became so unendurable to me that I stopped my ears with cotton.
Plop, plop.
Yes, Johansen, thank God, did not know quite all, even though he saw the city and the thing. But I shall never...
It's clobbering time!
Okay, so that is the other thing, okay. This thing, that thing over there. Okay. But I shall never sleep calmly again when I think of the horrors that lurk ceaselessly behind life in time and in space. Okay, he did use space here. But in another story, he uses ether instead of space. Okay, and of those unhallowed blasphemies from elder stars which dream beneath the sea, known and favored by a nightmare cult ready and eager to loose them on the world whenever another earthquake shall heave their monstrous stone city again to the sun and air. Johansen's voyage had begun just as he told it to the Vice Admiralty. The Emma, in ballast, had cleared Auckland on February 20th and had felt the full force of the earthquake-born tempest, which must have heaved up the sea bottom, the horrors that filled men's dreams. So yeah, so here we definitely have a little bit of a callback to Dagon. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
What's it saying?
That's the heave. Okay.
Sound effect.
All right. You know what's one of my least favorite word combinations? Not wet, nasty thing, or whatever the hell you said earlier. It's actually dry heave. Whenever that's always like, ugh. Yeah. Also because I can immediately hear it, so that's the other thing.
Don't you need a lozenge to fix that up?
Moving on. Once more under control, the ship was making good progress when held up by the alert on March 22nd, and I could feel the mate's regret as he wrote of her bombardment and sinking. Of the swarthy cult fiends. That's an interesting way. Of the swarthy cult fiends on the...
That's going to be the name of my next band, by the way.
Swarthy cult fiends. On the alert, he speaks with significant horror. There was some peculiarly abominable quality about them which made their destruction seem almost a duty, and Johansen shews ingenious wonder. Yes, ingenious wonder at the charge of ruthlessness brought against his party during the proceedings of the court of inquiry. Then, driven ahead by curiosity in their captured yacht under Johansen's command, the men sight a great stone pillar sticking out of the sea.
Look at that stone pillar over there.
Yes, in south latitude, 47 degrees and 9 minutes, west longitude, 126 degrees, 43 minutes. Sorry, I started getting the numbers wrong now. Come upon a coastline of mingled mud, ooze, and weedy cyclopean masonry, which...
no, not another voodoo orgy.
Which can be nothing less than the tangible substance of Earth's supreme terror, the nightmare corpse city of Ralaya, that was built in measureless eons behind history by the vast loathsome shapes that seeped down from the dark stars. There lay great Cthulhu and his hordes, hidden in green, slimy vaults, and sending out at last after cycles incalculable and thoughts that spread fear to the dreams of the sensitive and called imperiously to the faithful to come on a pilgrimage of liberation and restoration. All this Johansen did not suspect, but God knows he soon saw enough. I suppose that... Yes?
Whoa, I've seen enough of this, man.
I suppose that only a single mountaintop, the hideous monolith-crowned citadel, whereon great Cthulhu was buried, actually emerged from the waters. When I think of the extent of all that may be brooding down there, I almost wish to kill myself forthwith. Johansen and his men were awed by the cosmic majesty.
Whoa!
Of this dripping Babylon, of elder demons, and must have guessed without guidance that it was nothing of this or any sane planet. And also demon with an A again, which actually I really like that spelling. It's kind of cool. Awe at the unbelievable size of the greenish stone blocks. Yes.
Ah.
At the dizzying height of the great carven monolith, and at the stupefying identity of the colossal statues and bas-reliefs with the queer image found in the shrine on the alert, is poignantly visible in every line of the mate's frightened description. Without knowing what futurism is like, Johansen achieved something very close to it when he spoke of the city, for instead of describing any definitive structure or building, he dwells only on broad impressions of vast angles and stone surfaces, surfaces too great to belong to anything right or proper for this earth, and impious with horrible images and hieroglyphs. Okay, can you, Dr. Google again? Can you check impious? Impious. It's not impus. Impus would be, that sounds weird.
Showing a lack of respect for God or religion.
Okay. Wow. It sounds like such a measly word, impious. Oh, sorry, impious. That's it's from pious, impious. Okay, I was reading it wrong. Okay. I mentioned this talk about angles because it suggests something Wilcox had told me of his awful dreams. He had said that the geometry of the dream place he saw was abnormal, non-Euclidean, and loathsome redolent of spheres and dimensions apart from ours. Now an unlettered seaman felt the same thing whilst gazing at the terrible reality. Okay, another one for Dr. Google. The Euclidean. I want to find out what that means.
Dun, 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 dun. You ready for it?
Yes.
Euclidean geometry, the study of plane and solid figures on the basis of axioms and theorems.
Okay.
Employed by the it's a mathematical term.
Yeah, so non-geometrical or something is. Yeah, I guess. I guess Lovecraft was really getting balls deep into a thesaurus while he was writing this. Okay. But yeah, a very rich language. Too bad I don't know some of these words. Okay. Johansen and his men landed at a sloping mud bank on this monstrous acropolis. Yeah, exactly. He's called it a Babylon, an acropolis. Yeah, it just... Ooh, okay. And clambered slipperily. Wow, yes. Exactly, slipperily. Wow, that's it. And clambered slipperily up over...
Whoop.
Yes, over Titan oozy blocks. And...
Starting to get pornographic here, aren't we?
Yeah, oozy. Yeah, like ooze, but with a Y at the end, yeah. Oozy 9mm. No, okay, never. Which could have been no mortal staircase. That doesn't sound very threatening. No mortal staircase. Stairs, my mortal enemy. The very sun of heaven seemed distorted when viewed through the polarizing miasma welling out from this sea-soaked perversion, and twisted menace and suspense lurked leeringly in those crazily elusive angles of carved rock, where a second glance shewed concavity after the first shewed convexity. Yeah, sorry.
It sounds like to me that when Lovecraft was writing all this, he hated the feeling of repetition with words.
Yeah. Even though in the previous chapter 2 we were actually complaining that it kind of felt like towards the end like I was kind of repeating the same sentences. But I guess what he's trying to convey here is the whole city is made from such ridiculous shapes, or such shapes that are so you can't really comprehend. Incomprehensible, yes. So that's what he's kind of conveying here. Yeah, all right. Something very like fright had come over all the explorers before anything more definite than rock and ooze and weed was seen. Okay, seaweed. Not the other type. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Each would have fled had
Yeah,
he not
man.
feared the scorn of others, and it was only half-heartedly that they searched, vainly as it proved, for some portable souvenir to bear away. It was Rodriguez, the Portuguese, who climbed up the foot of the monolith and shouted of what he had found.
I found something!
That's a weird qualifier. I mean, yeah, I mean he means but Rodriguez the Portuguese. That's not like a cool title though. That's just your nationality. Yeah.
Sounds like a pro wrestling name.
Rodriguez the Portuguese. You know what Portuguese sound like? It's really weird.
It's like South American, isn't it?
Or also from Portugal, which is next to Spain.
Yeah.
So it's related to Spanish, but it's weird because it sounds a little bit like Spanish, but then some of the intonation, it sounds almost like a little Russian. Like, you know, it has like...
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. If you ever listen to it, like some parts clearly sound a little bit like Spanish, but then there's just certain words are just completely different, and then some intonation is weird like that. They have a lot of like in Russian when you have like a lot of like sort of guttural glee sounds. They have a little bit of that in Portuguese. But okay, moving on. The rest followed him and looked curiously at the immense carved door with the now familiar squid dragon bas relief. Squid dragon. That's not as cool as Cthulhu, okay? It was Johansson. It was. Oh, sorry, I read that badly. Okay. It was, Johansson said, like a great barn door. That sounds even less cool. And they all felt that it was a door because of the ornate lintel, threshold, and jambs around it. Is that how you say that? Jamb.
Jam. Yeah, it'd be like lamb, wouldn't it?
Yeah, jams. That's what. Who put all these jams around here?
Wouldn't say jamb.
Jamb. Yeah. Though they could not decide whether it lay flat like a trapdoor or slantwise like an outside cellar door, as Wilcox could have said.
Stumbling upon Cthulhu's wine collection.
Sorry, and also I read it incorrectly. As Wilcox would have said, the geometry of the place was all wrong. One could not be sure that the sea and the ground were horizontal. Hence, the relative position of everything else seemed phantasmally variable. Bryden pushed at the stone in several places without result. Then Donovan felt over it delicately around the edge. I don't know what he was feeling there. Pressing each point separately as he went. Okay, sorry, another side tangent. One of my favorite Family Feud, aka Family Fortunes. Well, you had a Family Feud. One of my favorite Family Feud brain fart moments was that when something you feel before you buy it, the guy manages to get to the buzzer first and he answers excited. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Okay. Wait a minute. Donovan pointlessly as he went. Yeah, he climbed interminably along the grotesque stone molding. That is, one would call it climbing if the thing was not, after all, horizontal, and the men wondered how any doors in the universe could be so vast. Then
The good old horizontal climbing. Whoa.
Then, very softly and slowly, the acre-great panel began to give inward at the top, and they saw that it was balanced. Donovan slid, or somehow propelled himself down or along the jam, and rejoined his fellows, and everyone watched the queer recession of the monstrously carven portal. Oh boy, such fun words. In this fantasy of prismatic distortion, it moved anomalously in a diagonal way, so that all the rules of matter and perspective seemed upset.
Oh no!
Yes, and also fantasy, written with a PH and not an F at the end. Yeah, that's a weird way to spell that. The aperture was black with a darkness almost material. That tenebrousness was indeed a positive quality, for it obscured such parts of the inner walls as ought to have been revealed, and actually burst forth like smoke from its eon-long imprisonment. Yes, visibly darkening the sun as it slunk away into the shrunken and gibbous sky on flapping membranous wings. The odor arising from the newly opened depths was intolerable. And at length, the quick-eared Hawkins thought he heard a nasty slopping sound down there.
Oh, then we're back with the nasty wet things now, are we?
All right, but I really would like a sound effect, please. All right. Everyone listened, and everyone was listening still when it lumbered slubberingly into sight and and gropingly squeezed its gelatinous green immensity. Its gelatinous green immensity through the black doorway into the tainted outside air of that poisoned city of madness. Poor Johansen's handwriting almost gave out when he wrote of this. Of the 6 men who never reached the ship, he thinks 2 perished of pure fright in the accursed instant. The thing cannot be described. There is no language for such abysms of shrieking and immemorial lunacy, such eldritch contradictions of all matter, force, and cosmic order. A mountain walked or stumbled. God! Yeah, God! What wonder that across the earth a great architect went mad, and poor Wilcox raged with fever in that telepathic instant. The thing of the idols, the green, sticky spawn of the stars, had awakened to claim his own. The green, sticky spawn, again, doesn't sound very threatening, though. Sounds more gross. The stars were right again. What an age-old cult had failed to do by design, a band of innocent sailors had done by accident. After vigilance... Whoa. Wow, okay, maybe that's a number. After vigitillions of years, Great Cthulhu was loose again and ravening for delight. Yes. 3 men were swept up by the flabby claws.
Whoa!
Yes, before anybody turned. God rest them, if there be any rest in the universe. They were Donovan Guerrera and Ångström. I forget how you say a G in Spanish. Maybe it's Guerrera. We'll go with Guerrera. Okay.
Guerrera. Yeah.
Parker slipped as the other 3 were plunging frenziedly over endless vistas of green-crusted rock to the boat, and Johansen swears he was swallowed up by an angle of masonry which shouldn't have been there. The angle which was acute, but behaved as if it were obtuse. So only Bryden and Johansen reached the boat and pulled desperately for the alert as the mountainous monstrosity flopped down the slimy stones and hesitated, floundering at the edge of the water. Steam had not been suffered to go down entirely, despite the departure of all hands for the shore, and it was the work of only a few moments of feverish rushing up and down between wheel and engines to get the alert underway. Slowly, amidst the distorted horrors of the indescribable scene, she began to churn lethal waters, whilst on the masonry of the charnel shore that was not of earth, the Titan thing from the stars, slavered and gibbered like Polyphene cursing the fleeing ship of Odysseus. Oh yeah,
I'm just picturing him just shaking his arm at the boat getting away now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Stay off my lawn, you meddling kids.
Yeah, I think Polyphene was Polyphene. I think was the name of the Cyclops that Odysseus, blinded. Yeah. Then bolder than the storied Cyclops. Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, so I was right. Yeah. Great Cthulhu slid greasily into the water and began to pursue.
Whoa!
Yes. And began to pursue with vast, wave-raising strokes of cosmic potency. Bryden looked back and went mad, laughing shrilly. As he kept on laughing at intervals, till death found him one night in the cabin whilst Johansen was wandering deliriously. Yes. But Johansen had not given out yet, knowing that the thing could surely overtake the Alert until steam was fully up. He resolved on a desperate chance, and setting the engine for full speed, ran lightning-like. Yes, ran lightning-like on deck, and reversed the wheel. There was a mighty eddying and foaming in the noisome brine, and as the steam mounted higher and higher, the brave Norwegian drove his vessel head-on against the pursuing jelly, which rose above the unclean froth like the stern of a demon galleon.
Doing jelly.
Yeah. The awful squid head with writhing feelers came nearly up to the bow. Up to the bowsprit of the sturdy yacht, but Johansen drove on relentlessly. There was a bursting of an exploding bladder, a slushy nastiness as of clove and sunfish, a stench as of 1,000 opened graves, and a sound that the chronicler would not put on paper. For an instant, the ship was befouled by an acrid and blinding green cloud, and then there was
Sorry, just gone from the fart sound effect to a blinding green cloud.
Yeah. Then there was only a venomous seething astern, where, God in heaven, the scattered plasticity of that nameless sky spawn was nebulously recombining in its hateful original form, whilst its instance widened every second as the Alert gained impetus from its mounting steam. That was all. After that, Johansen only brooded over the idol in the cabin and attended to a few matters of food for himself and the laughing maniac by his side. He did try to navigate after the first bold flight, for the reaction had taken something out of his soul. Then came the storm on April 2nd, and a gathering of clouds about his consciousness. There is a sense of spectral whirling through liquid gulfs of infinity, of dizzying rides through reeling universes on a comet's tail, and of hysterical plunges from the pit to the moon, and from the moon back again to the pit.
Wow, that's one trip.
Yeah. All livened by the cachinnating chorus of the distorted, hilarious elder gods. Hilarious? Dude, this is terrifying. And the green bat-winged mocking imps of Tartarus. Out of that dream came rescue, the vigilant, and the Vice-Admiralty Court, the streets of Dunedin, and a long voyage back home to the old house by Egeberry. He could not tell. They would think him mad. He would write of what he knew before death came, but his wife must not guess. Death would be a boon if only it could blot out the memories. That was the document I read, and now I have placed it in the tin box beside the bas relief and the papers of Professor Angel, with With it shall go this record of mine, this test of my own sanity, wherein is pieced together that which I hope may never be pieced together again. I have looked upon all that the universe has to hold of horror, and even the skies of spring and the flowers of summer must ever afterward be poison to me. But I do not think my life will be long. As my uncle went, as poor Johansen went, so I shall go. I know too much, and the cult still lives. Cthulhu still lives too, I suppose, again in that chasm of stone which has shielded him since the sun was young. His accursed city is sunken once more, for the vigilance sailed over the spot after the April storm, but his ministers on earth still bellow and prance and slay around idol-capped monoliths in lonely places. I almost said lively places accidentally. He must have been trapped by the sinking whilst within his black abyss, or else the world would by now be screaming with fright and frenzy. Who knows the end? What has risen may sink, and what has sunk may rise. Loathsomeness waits, and dreams in the deep, and decay spreads over the tottering cities of men. A time will come, but I must not and cannot think. Let me pray that, if I do not survive this manuscript, my executors may put caution before audacity, and see that it meets no other eye. The end.
Aww.
Yes, and that was
Curious
the
to know
Call
what
of
happened
Cthulhu.
next.
Yes, sorry.
I was looking forward to hear what would happen next. It got really exciting all of a sudden.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so Kaiser, as we always ask at the end of these podcasts, what did you think of that story? Now the whole story, or maybe just the last part.
I'll give some quick summaries of what I thought. The first one, I thought it was all good. I'll definitely say that. But the first part, it was a bit slow. It was definitely building up to what was to come. Second part was the most exciting. It had the most action in it. And the third one, I think Howard's language sort of ruined some of the effect of what he was trying to purvey. He could have built up something spooky, but some of the choice of words, especially with the way he would not have predicted the way that we use them now.
Yeah.
Just sort of dulled the moment, like the killer jelly, the hilarious creatures.
Yeah.
Just made it sound a bit silly for what could have been ultra terrifying.
Yeah, that is quite interesting because there was something I haven't mentioned this in the prior podcast, I think. But there actually is, we've talked about some Lovecraft movies before and how, especially regarding those that usually the titles are a bit misleading because they tend to take the title of a different Lovecraft story and use it for an adaptation of another one. But there actually is a fan-made Call of Cthulhu movie, which is actually based on this book. And I haven't watched the whole thing, but I did see the trailers when it came out. And the idea was that it was, made in the style of a silent movie. And so I do remember from the trailer. Yes, and I do remember from the trailers, it shows the discovery of R'lyeh. I don't remember if it had the tale of Inspector Legrasse as part of it, but yeah. So that is officially kind of, the real first physical appearance. And I think might be the only physical appearance of Cthulhu in any of Lovecraft's stories, because I think from here on out, I don't think Lovecraft himself used Cthulhu as a character, but he will, of course, references in other stories. August Derleth, who then continued writing Cthulhu stories after Lovecraft's death, he, of course, then used it a couple of times. But August Derleth also had slightly different ideas about. He slightly changed some of the things in the stories. Yeah. Now I thought that was a fun story. I actually really liked the way they described the opening the kind of the tomb or where Cthulhu then comes out. But yeah, some of the word choices just do sound a little silly. I'd forgotten about that whole piracy bit. You know, that was really fun. It has been a while since I've read the whole thing, but yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. That was
unexpected too.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. It was fun. It was a fun little spice there. So I don't know. I'm on the fence a little bit. Like, I like that story. I like that last bit actually a little bit better than Tale of Inspector Legrasse. While Tale of Inspector Legrasse had quite a lot of detail and there was quite a lot more meat to it than, let's say, the first part. Like I said, the thing about it was a bit unpleasant to read because I do feel that there was a lot more repetition in that story as opposed to this one. Yes, all right. Yes, okay, and yes, I have a little bit some notes here. I think I mentioned already in part one's discussion part that that the story was written in 1926 and then it was published in 1928. And did I mention the first half, the first chapter, The Horror in Clay, that it was actually inspired by a dream that Lovecraft had?
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about. I think I did mention this. I do feel like I might have mentioned this. I don't remember anymore, but
yeah, because he just like Edgar Allan Poe, he puts a lot of his own life into his stories too, or bits of his own life into his story.
Oh yeah, and Lovecraft in particular, because that's where a lot of the inspiration for those cosmic horrors came from, because he had night terrors. So so that's
guy.
Yeah. So that's where a lot of the inspiration comes from. Again, there were some very obviously kind of very racist descriptions there.
Yeah.
Descriptions there, but you know, yeah, that always unfortunately comes with the story. Okay, so as for the reception, I already actually did this research all the way when we did part one quite a while ago, over a month ago, I think. But so the reception for the story has, throughout history and after Lovecraft's death, has been all over the place. Lovecraft himself actually didn't like the Call of Cthulhu very much. I think, like a lot of his more, where he tried to put in more, that were like serialized, like this was in multiple parts, and where he tried to build like, he didn't like, you know, this is the other thing, Lovecraft also didn't like Herbert West the Reanimator very much either, because he felt that he was very artificially trying to kind of forge a kind of an action narrative. And that wasn't really not his jam. So Lovecraft didn't like it. But guess who did like it a lot, actually?
Would it be the creator of Conan the Barbarian?
Yes, Robert E. Howard. He absolutely loved this. This was one of his favorite Lovecraft stories. And when I say that the reception was very mixed, like, some people have gone on to say that this is one of Lovecraft's masterpieces. And of course, it is one of his most well-known works. I think we have kind of shown, at least in the readings and everything, that, you know, there are some narrative flaws in there, but it is a fun story. But I remember one guy also said that it felt less like a story and more like an essay, which I think that's a bit harsh. Maybe the first part, is a bit more, because, like we said, it's a bit more like a setting up. You know, it sets up everything. So
to me, it felt like I guess this is what it was. It felt like, you know how you get like those horror miniseries that air over a couple of nights? It felt like one of those, which it's a silly thing to say because it wasn't multiple parts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Overall, I do have to say I enjoyed that. Like, I would definitely not say that this is one of my top 5 Lovecraft stories or anything like that, but it is a good one. It was a good one. Like, barring the slow start, it actually I actually did enjoy that quite a bit. Yeah. Oh, the other spooky thing. Oh yeah. Well, doesn't really relate to anything, so this is a bit of a side tangent. But actually, this week I finally watched. You know Ed Wood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Plan 9.
I watched that one myself, but I know that movie.
No, not the movie. I meant the guy.
Yep. I'm definitely familiar with his work. He's best saved for another podcast, for my opinions. But
all right, but yeah, but I you know, this Halloween we had a little Halloween party with my sister and her friends, and we watched Plan 9 from Outer Space. But this week I actually watched for the first time The Bride of the Monster, and I thought that was
a cheesy one.
I thought it was absolutely delightful. I just loved.
It's fun but cheesy.
Yeah. I just love watching Bela Lugosi. It was actually, I would say that movie beats out Plan 9 for me now. I actually liked it that much.
Yeah,
Okay,
agree.
maybe I'll have to give it a little bit more time. But I just because the thing about Plan 9 that I always saddens me is that Bela Lugosi's barely in it because he died before they made the movie. So yeah, but Bela Lugosi
All I
is
can
just
think of.
yep.
All I can think of when I remember that movie is the octopus.
Yeah, the octopus looks terrible. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that, but the acting, it's just so delightfully cheesy. I was instantly like in a good mood, and
Yeah, they had a
especially
lot of fun with that one.
yeah. It's a great one. Yeah. Okay, but do you have anything else you want to add to the to Call of Cthulhu discussion? No? Yeah, I don't really. I think we've already discussed a fair bit in the previous. If you want to see, and maybe I'll make a supercut of the discussion sections for each of the 3 parts, because I've been doing that before as well. But if you have nothing to add, then I thank you. I thank everybody who has stuck around and listened to the entirety of the Call of Cthulhu with us, and. We'll have to see which one we do next. We don't have too many of the short... Well, okay, we have a couple of the shorter stories that I do still want to read, but, the big ones that are still kind of looming in the distance that I really kind of want to do is, The Reanimator and then Color Out of Space. But both of those are pretty long, so again, we're going to probably have to do it exactly like this. We're going to have to split it across multiple podcasts. But this was fun. This was a hoot. All right. Any final words, Kaiser, before we end the podcast?
Make sure to stay away from those voodoo orgies. They'll get you in the end.
All right. Yes, and I've been Hannu TheHande Mäkinen, and an Ia Cthulhu Fatagen to all of you. Bye-bye.